steel cross beams?
Yeah. Yeah, the structure of this floor is very similar to upstairs. There are these really long transfer beams that are resting on piers and also on the fireplace. But these are also boxed-in cross beams, cross members made of steel that are connected into these to the transfer beams. And it's interesting down here to point this out, because Wright could have put the ceiling down here, I suppose, and just had a flat surface. But instead he chose to expose them, I think, to give us a little more height here. But it's also, you can see this is, sort of the starting off point for the design that you saw on the ceiling upstairs, expressed up there with the wood instead of boxed-in beams like it is down here. So it's kind of interesting to me to go through Wright's buildings and start in the less important rooms, because you can often see where he began, where he started off. He shows you the simple ideas that he then develops much more fully in more important rooms. For example, the windows, this is obviously a very simple pattern that he then varies and elaborates a lot more and adds color to once he gets into some of the more important doors and windows in the house. I'll also tell you there's 175 art glass windows in the house, and we're only missing one of them. There's supposed to be a big art glass panel in the front door that we don't have, but all the rest of them are here, and they're slowly being sent out for conservation as we get the money together. By the way, we still need another about $3.5 million, is it, Janet?
Absolutely.
To finish the interior. And so, you never know. We might have a lottery winner in the room or something. So I always mention that. And I like to stop in this room just for a minute and talk about, this isn't to do with technology, but about this fireplace. You probably all know that Wright was very heavily influenced by Japanese art and architecture in his career. And the place where a lot of that influence began was at the World's Columbian Exposition in 1893, which was just a mile away in Jackson Park. And Wright lived in Chicago at the time, and he went to the fair, and he saw the Japanese pavilion, which was a tea house. And they also had a lot of Japanese art prints and decorative objects there, and that really began his lifelong interest in this, which was obviously a very heavy influence on his own architecture. And so here in this fireplace, you see those two lintels that cross over one another at different heights. That's similar to the kind of shelf system you would see in a Japanese home, especially in the Shinto shrine area. And he'd been to Japan by the time he designed this house, so this is a place where he's, I think, paying a very direct homage to this debt he felt he owed to Japanese design. And that's interesting to see, because Wright usually didn't give anyone else credit for his designs or for helping him do that. It was, he wanted us to think he'd all come up with it himself. So the fact that he's doing this here is very significant for Frank Lloyd Wright. This is a sample of the magnesite that they're going to eventually pour down here. It's is again very similar to concrete and cures, and you have to finish it off with tung oil every once in a while to keep it in shape, but that's what we'll use. Then over there is a panel that was the final test for the bricks that they had to remake. The bricks were a great challenge. It took over a year of research and working with the Belden Brickworks in Ohio before we could get these bricks remade. They're a special size called Roman brick that's longer and lower than common brick, so it has more of a horizontal profile. And when they made these bricks for us, they didn't have a die that was that size anymore, so they had to make them twice as thick and then saw them in half. They also had to shoot iron filings into the face, because that's how they were done originally, and then when they're fired, the iron filings burn out and they create this interesting patina and these little pits on the surface that Wright liked. And nobody knew how to do that, so they had to sort of reinvent that process. They were also made in what's called a beehive kiln, and that was fired by coal, which gave them a special color. And there are no coal-fired kilns in the United States anymore, and there's only 2 beehive kilns left. So just the bricks, that's all they had to go through just to do the bricks. And there were, 100 things like that they had to look into. So when people, again, ask where'd the $4 million go, I tell the story of the bricks, and the guys, the $50 an hour guys with the grinders grinding out all of our mild.
Do contractors ever discount their fees or?
That'd be an interesting question to ask the restoration architect.
Like a little bit of advertising on your end.
Well, I would say probably not, because usually there's only one person we can go to that will do something for us, or maybe 2. because they have to be pre-qualified. Since this is a structure that's on the National Register, they have to be pre-qualified by the federal government. You have to meet all these guidelines in order to be pre-qualified to even bid on a project. So instead of being able to send it out to 10 people for bid, we could really only send it out to 2 contractors, I think, Janet?
I'm sorry, what was that?
There were only 2 contractors we sent this out to for bid?
Yes, 3.
3, okay. And usually, you want more than
Is that
3.
because of the federal government is giving
Yeah.
you some money? Okay.
Well, yeah, the federal government's giving us money, but it's more because the home is on the National Register of Historic Places, and if you alter anything, you have to get the government's approval and follow their, I don't know, this thick guidelines of stuff to do, which is fine because it helps us, it gives us guidelines to follow, and it's a very thorough sort of,
And you don't
in a
make
way.
mistakes either.
Well, hopefully not.
We're just going to do one of these.
Oh, okay.
That way?
We'll go